Okay, in this video I'm going to be talking about how to drive traffic with Facebook. And Facebook, as most people know, is one of the most powerful ways to drive traffic right now because it has such a strong ability or powerful ability to enable you to target very specific audiences with multiple filters so you're really getting the exact demographic that you want to for your particular campaign. So the first step in advertising with Facebook is you really want to set up a tracking pixel. And a tracking pixel is something that's going to enable you to create a specialized list or sublist of people who have already expressed interest in your particular offer so that in subsequent ad campaigns you can, instead of targeting a broad audience or even a targeted audience with the Facebook targeting features, instead you can target only those people who have already taken an action and shown an interest in what it is that you're promoting. So the first step is to set up a tracking pixel, and you're going to want to enter the tracking code. And in this example, I'm showing how you can do this using Leadpages. If you haven't used Leadpages yet, I would strongly advise you to get an account and at least go through some of the training there. And it's a way to create um, beautiful, high conversion landing pages and different pages within a sales funnel. And actually, Leadpages makes it very, very easy to implement tracking codes and retargeting for Facebook advertising or any other kind of advertising. So the next thing is to enter your tracking code. And the next thing is to select, for this purpose, because we're going to be testing out what's working, we want to select website conversions from the options from within the Facebook Power Editor. And the next step is to select a landing page URL, because this is what we're really going to be measuring, is how many people actually convert to get to that landing page URL. And then select the tracking pixel, which is what we were just talking about. And it's very, very important to use an image that catches the attention of people on Facebook. Using an image that is somehow serves as a pattern interrupt, if you will, or that somehow captures people's attention. Something with some color to it is usually good, and something that really expresses what your campaign is all about. Very important to keep in mind that Facebook is quite stringent about its 20% rule for maximum amount of area that can be devoted to text. But as you can see here, there are ways to sort of skirt around that rule. And I would warn you that Facebook seems to look at everything that's being advertised on its network. So, you may as well just stay within the rules. Otherwise, you're just going to be wasting time. And it's very frustrating when you're waiting for Facebook to approve an ad, or if you've already got an ad that's running and then suddenly they come back and say, whoops, don't like it, you got too much text or whatever. Or it can be a whole host of other things. So you need to be very careful about making sure you're staying within the Facebook terms of service. And the next thing is to create copy that really states the benefit and has a strong call to action. And these are the things that will make a night and day difference in terms of the um, conversion rate of your campaign and the return on investment you're able to realize with your campaign. Cannot overstate this enough. Stating the benefit and having a very strong call to action. And you need to be able to test multiple versions of your ads with different images, different headlines, different calls to action, different formats, whether it's the news feed or having it in the margin column. Really, the news feed is probably where you want to be most of the time because of the trend to mobile, just taking over everything. And being sure that you use that tracking pixel to measure what's working and what's not. Now you want to compare the total number of leads you get. You want to be able to look at your cost per lead. You want to compare your return on investment. And the testing and tweaking needs to be an ongoing exercise. It's a good idea, good practice to continue to test and tweak and try to optimize your overall ad campaign so that you can identify the best performing versions. And one of the cleverest ways I've ever seen, clever and really simple ways of of split testing is to run two different versions of an ad or a campaign, and then whichever one performs becomes your new baseline version or your new control sample, and you test something else against it. And again, out of the next two, whichever one wins becomes your baseline or your control sample for the next test, and it just makes it fairly easy to just roll through a bunch of tests. Now, one thing that you need to be aware of is that with Facebook or with any other kind of advertising, you really need to avoid banner blindness. And so for this reason, I don't know if you ever noticed it or not, but there are some very successful Facebook marketers who are using Facebook advertising to drive their traffic, obviously. And they use things like something called a post rotation method and dark posts and things that will only keep their advertising out in the mainstream or in the public view for limited periods of time. So for instance, it might be 2 days, it might be 5 days, it might be 7 days, but rarely is it more than that, because what happens is this tendency to what's called banner blindness, where people just stop looking at what you're advertising. It just becomes almost invisible to them. So for this reason, it's important to rotate your advertising images and rotate your formats, as well as to vary the text that you're using and vary the placement in your ads, and just continually making sure you know what's working best. And you really want to optimize for each format, whether it's the news feed, which is becoming known more and more as native advertising, in case you don't know that. Newsfeed meaning it's natural where it is. It's right in the middle of where the view is. For the desktop version, the right-hand column, and once again, I wouldn't jump to a conclusion that you can only advertise in the newsfeed and anything else isn't going to be performing as well. You really need to be looking at all these different formats, and you need to run ads on all these placements because you really don't know what's going to perform best, and you need to pay attention to the data to let that inform you or indicate to you what is getting the best performance, rather than coming to some kind of sort of conclusion on your own. When it comes to target audiences, a good rule of thumb is to use 3 filters. So certainly you want to be targeting based on basic demographics as one of those filters, meaning certain age group, certain whether it's male or female. It could also be based on household income. Could be based on whether they own a business or don't own a business. But 3 filters is a good rule of thumb. Anything more than that, might be too granular, but anything less than that is going to be, not specific enough, so that you really will have a tough time measuring what's working. And you really want to micro-target your audiences, and the way that you do this, again, is something that needs to be experimented with. But for instance, I'm not sure if I have this slide in this deck or not, but I had a very successful Teespring advertising campaign about a year ago, and it was so specific in terms of the targeting, and it was the specificity of the targeting is what made it as successful as it was as a campaign. And this is critically important. When you're doing your testing, you need to start with very small budgets. It's not unusual. In fact, it's probably advisable to start with a budget of $5 to $10 a day. And it sounds like such a tiny amount of money, and it is. But it's essential and critical that you start with small budgets, because otherwise you'll just burn through your budget while you're figuring out what's working and what's not working. So start with $5 a day or $10 a day, and really make sure you figure the stuff out with a small ad spend before you begin to scale it up. Once you have some data and you know what's working well, now you're ready to start scaling up a campaign. Obviously you're going to increase your budget for the winners and close the budget for the non-performers, and you have to continually keep an eye on this and monitor and improve it. So that's it. Good luck with your traffic generation using Facebook advertising, and I'll see you in the next video.